Hi, friends. We at GLC would like to take a quick moment to thank you for watching our programs on this platform, and we'd like to ask you for a little favor. Would you please go beneath this video and click the subscribe button? Did you know that by simply subscribing to the GLC YouTube channel, you can help us financially support the programs on this platform? You'll need to be signed into YouTube beforehand, but if not, simply click the subscribe button and YouTube will automatically walk you through the steps to sign in or to create an account. By taking these simple steps, you will not only ensure that you continue to receive our unique programming and gain instant access to the hundreds of videos we post, but more importantly, you'll also be telling YouTube that GLC's content is worth watching and promoting. Likewise, if you enjoyed a specific program, please click the thumbs up button below, which also helps inform YouTube that this is a program worth recommending. Finally, once you have logged in and subscribed, please click the notification bell below in order to receive announcements when we post new content. As usual, feel free to post your questions and comments in the comments section below. We always love hearing from our friends and viewers. Again, thank you for watching and supporting God's Learning Channel. We couldn't spread the message of the gospel without you. Be blessed, and we hope you enjoy the show. Folks, welcome to the interview today. And of course, you're going to love today's guest. She's an accomplished writer and speaker, child activist, a former state representative for the good old land of Arkansas, America. And she's also my sister-in-law,
Yeah.
Rebecca Petty. How you doing, Rebecca?
I'm great. How are you? How are
Doing
you?
good.
So good to be here. Thanks for having me. We've been talking about this for a long time. So
I
here
know.
we are.
Well, you know what? You're no stranger to television, sis. I mean, my gosh, you're someone that is very resilient, very gifted, very talented. You're always doing something cool, something new, and even turning tragedies into triumph and helping the country all at the same time. Some people may be really interested to know. I think a lot of people would of what you had to do with the Amber Alert as well.
Goodness. That's a long time ago, but something that's very important and that was near and dear to my heart. And it was stemmed out of a very terrible tragedy. When I lost my 12-year-old daughter to abduction and murder. And I don't know if you just wanted to jump right into that.
Sure. It's part of your story.
The Amber Alert was such an important thing. She was kidnapped from her father's rural Arkansas home down close where you guys live. And of course, this was back in 1999. And our family went through just a terrible, terrible tragedy while all of that was happening. She was missing for 3 days, and there was just a massive statewide search. And out of that stemmed a lot of the advocacy work that I have done and do now. And some of that stemmed into the Amber Alert. We're not sure if the Amber Alert could have helped in her case, but we can't say that it wouldn't have worked, because her abduction was at one point, it was witnessed by someone passing them on the road. And I would always like to think in my heart that just maybe, there would have been a much different outcome. Of course, she was raped and murdered, and it was, I think there is nothing that can explain the tragedy that caused in our hearts and for our family, that we had to live through all of that. And at the end of the day, it was an uncle by marriage who did this, and he came back and assisted us in the search for her. And it was a terrible tragedy. And so I always felt like that I was faced with two roads to go down. It was either I could just not live and just give up and say forget it. I'm just done with life, or
Right.
I could do something positive and give her a legacy. And I chose to give her a legacy. And again, some of that was the creation of the National Amber Alert. I as well as several other families, we were able to come together and make that happen. So I'm very proud of that. So
Well, very proud of you. There's a saying that the same wave that can destroy you can carry you out to sea. And what you did, you didn't dive into addiction. You didn't dive into a lot of things that people do when they're faced with such a tragedy. Talk
mhm,
about an incredible family, but also a tough family.
yeah,
But you also made a quest to help other children and to do the best you could.
right.
To make sure as little as possible that it happens to other children, at least without not having tools, to hopefully try to help, try
Yes.
to reduce that. You went on Oprah and told your story as well. I think, of course, before presidents, with George Bush and
Yes.
again, another example of someone that took a tragedy and chose to impact not only a couple of generations now, but also, you know, to lift others up and to encourage others. I
Right.
mean, you've always been a gifted writer, and of course, a speaker too. We haven't even talked about your work as a state representative, but the good citizens of Arkansas saw your determination to protect
Yes.
children, to
Yes.
help children. I mean, my gosh, I wish you were running right now, Rebecca, because there's such an onslaught.
Well, I had quite a few people mad at me when I decided to step out of office. I served for 3 terms, and when I got to the point of people saying, "Are you going to run for fourth term?" I could have stayed in for about 16 years, and I stayed in for 6. But you add a couple of years of campaigning and all of that on top of that, you're talking 8 years of your life. So my entire 40s was spent in the political realm. And when I got to the final session that I served in, I remember thinking, is there anything else that I can do that in my heart that I need to accomplish right at this point in my life? And the answer was no. And I didn't want to be a career politician. I didn't want to go there. And I made the decision to step back because it's very stressful. It's very, very stressful. So I stepped out, and I'm glad I made that decision. Now that doesn't mean that someday maybe somebody could talk me into it.
Uh,
Of course, my husband, he would have a fit if he heard me saying that, but because he was the best. He was the encourager. He was the one that pushed me along to keep knocking on doors and talking to people when I was incredibly tired. He would go out and weed eat around my campaign signs, and he just pushed me so hard. But to do it again, I think he would say, "Please don't." No.
well,
So
I know the Bill. He's one of the best guys I know.
yeah, me too.
And of course he was behind you. So important, folks. You choose the right partner in your life so that you can support each other. And of course,
That's right.
he sure did. And you guys are an awesome power team. You
Oh
know,
well,
he
well, thank you.
he
That's sweet.
he's a brilliant architect and
No,
talk about
actually, he would probably get mad at you saying architects. He's a civil
really
engineer.
engineer.
He's a civil
Well,
engineer.
that's even so the architect gives the pretty design, but the engineer actually makes it work,
That's right.
right?
That's right.
Actually
He
makes it
works in
work.
the office with some.
Well, you can think the quality streets and bridges and such developments,
Yes.
no doubt in my mind, are a little bit better, because of men like Bill, and
Well,
I
yeah.
love it. Both of you though,
Super proud of him. Super
you're
proud
both
of him.
into leaving legacies because you not only have written several books now. How many books have you written so far?
Well, I wrote the nonfiction one about Andy called Stolen, and then with a dear friend of mine, we wrote a Southern fiction book that I would love to see get published,
Oh my gosh.
I'm kind of working towards that. I think she's a little bit hesitant, and I don't know why, but that's a whole different
I
story.
read some of
But
that. Let me tell you something. It's a movie is what it is.
it's
Yeah.
really really good, and I'm not saying that just brag. We spent a lot of time on it, and I would love to see that in book form. And then I have, gosh, I've started several different books. I had when I was doing my undergrad, I did some work on the BTK
Yeah.
serial killer. So
Fascinating.
I have some work on that I would love to see in book form. So, I'm all the time looking for something new to write about. I love to write, and I people always say you're such a great speaker, but to be truthful, speaking really terrifies me. But I just get out
Really?
and talk. Oh yeah, absolutely.
I
I'm
wouldn't have guessed
very
that. I wouldn't have guessed that.
really. Oh yeah.
No, not really. No, even the way you're doing right now. I mean, gosh, you could have your own TV show and commentary and podcast, and you should. But Rebecca, there's people who there's the kind of person who runs away from the fire, and then there's the kind of people who run into the fire to rescue others, and that's who you are. And I'm proud to know you. That's the way that I feel about things too.
Well,
We're
thank
not
you.
victims of life. Life doesn't happen to us. We happen to life. Don't get me wrong, things happen, but I've just always been impressed by your resilience and your
Mhm.
desire to help other people, even from state representative to now. Not only having written the book Stolen, which people you need to get on Amazon.com.
Yeah.
That's where they can get Stolen, and but also uh, speaking, training law enforcement
Right.
in the areas of catching these monsters who are targeting our children.
Yes.
Plenty speaking there, but now you're even more hands on because you have a furry friend that
I
brings a lot of
do.
peace and calm to
Mhm.
child victims right now. Tell us about that.
So I right now I am the a courthouse facility dog handler, and I I've been paired with a dog named Ari the third. And what we do is we go into uh, court with children who have been victimized, and it's a great program that we have here in the state of Arkansas called Pause for Justice. So this week, Ari has a jury trial. The first two I've had him since last February, and of course, we've worked with. I think last time I counted, it was around 50 or 60 child victims. But he has actually been through two jury trials, and
Wow.
in both of his first jury trial was a terrible, terrible rape case against a child, and the man got 3 consecutive life terms. The second jury trial that he worked, if the man got, and this was last week, he ended up getting 198 years. And so we have another jury trial coming up this Thursday and Friday, and it's another, of course, terror. And how people can hurt children like this is still to this day just mind-boggling to me. But it's another terrible rape case of a child, and that's a jury trial that's going to be happening this week. So he uh, starts he starts out. He'll work with these kids, and we'll spend about a month getting them to know each other, and we'll practice taking them onto the witness stand. And he's highly trained, and he was trained by Canine Companions, who is a big group in the United States.
Wow.
And what he will do during a jury trial is he will sit underneath the witness stand with the child, and it provides them comfort and just love and peace, and they don't have to be so frightened when they're on the stand facing their perpetrator. So it's really neat. And when they're getting to know the child, they've trained these dogs. They and he has no strategy for tic-tac-toe, but Ari can play tic-tac-toe. He can play this really neat bead game. I've taught him to roll these big fuzzy dice, and then I give I take all of these like these little lunch bags, and I'll put a number on them, and I'll let him roll a dice, and whatever number he rolls, I give them a prize. So
Oh,
kids just love him, and by the end of it, they're wanting, they will say, well, after this is all over with, can I come and see Ari? And I'm like, 100%, anytime you want to see him. So he kind of bonds with these children, and he's pretty fantastic. I'd show him to you, but he just rolled in the grass, and I have to brush him. He's got grass all over him. So
well, Rebecca, you're able to speak from several different points of view, from the mother of a victim, to a state legislator that has the interests of children in mind, to protect children, to better the lives of children,
right.
to see the bad guys get put away. The perspective of someone who's working with the children in the court scene.
Yeah.
My goodness. And of course, someone that has trained law enforcement, what to look out for. I don't know if you would ever have dreamed that we would live in a day where children have been so targeted and sexualized even more than they were at the loss of Andy. And, my goodness.
And I'd like to think that I have spent the past 2 decades to make it better for kids. And I hate to admit that it seems to just either it's just more out in the open, or it's getting worse. And I can't say for sure, but what I do know is that people need to fight for kids. They have enough strikes against them.
Right.
We need more people to fight for them and just do anything they can. I mean, and you can talk, I mean, just down to like a mom who, her parents are divorced, and mom gets a new boyfriend. You wouldn't believe the cases. And I'm not saying that all boyfriends or whatever are bad, but
Sure.
it's really bad. Even to be honest, some fathers, and I think I'm kind of getting off in the weeds here, but a mom, she needs to just keep an eye on your kids.
Right.
Just be there for your kids. Always watch them like a hawk. That's the bottom line. Watch them like a hawk. Don't.
Yeah.
If I had small children these days, I would never let them spend the night with anyone. I don't care. I've seen too much. It's
Right.
super scary. You think you can trust people, and it's a hard, scary world. It really is.
And it's shocking to say, but you even goes for certain women too.
Yes, yes,
being alone
and
with kids.
there are women who not only will allow it, but will participate
Yeah.
in some of the most atrocious things you can. So I think probably in saying all of that, the thing about it is be vigilant for your child as a mother or a father. Be vigilant. Watch your kids like a hawk.
You never
Protect
know
them.
what.
It's your job.
Yeah. I remember in junior high, there was this kid. His name was John. Good looking kid, very popular.
Mhm.
He had a big scar around his eye, but a great hearted, good looking, sweet, fun, talented kid. Okay. Everybody liked John. John was very funny. And boy, John could sing. We'd sing Hall & Oates in class, and woo, we had a lot of fun. All of a sudden, John wasn't there. Hey, where's John? Well, John was not seen for a few years. Come to find out, John would go home and his mother would put him in a cage and she would sexually abuse him. And he finally escaped the situation and killed her.
Wow.
And he went to prison and he was let out after a while. And I believe that the horrific abuse and the evidence of that abuse was so evident to the judge.
Yeah.
Folks, this was, gosh, I mean, I'm almost 50 years ago. All that to say is that you never know what people are going through. and you never know what children are going through. What are some of the signs, while we're on this, that people should look out for when it comes to children in danger, especially in an age where there's child sex trafficking, which I know about all too well, as do you. You know, the things that we do behind the scenes to help fight that. You know, and but what are some signs that people need to be aware of in this
So
hour?
I think that all kids are different. So you can have some kids that'll completely withdraw and not want to talk about it, or they'll not say anything. And then there's some children that, like one of the cases that Ari worked with the girl, that the man, it was her own father. He who had gotten 300 years. He what had happened with her is they were a Muslim family, and she became a Christian.
Oh,
And she told her youth pastor, and the youth pastor reported, or they never would have known. So some kids will come out and tell, and then some will completely withdraw. And some kids, they will just act out. And I think sometimes when a kid is displaying such terrible behavior, you think, well, what's going on with this kid? But then you have some that'll be like, no, this, I was hurt and this is what happened. And I think the thing with children is we need to believe them. If they are brave enough to come out and say, hey, this happened to me, we need to look at that, and we need to believe them. There's so many times that people say, oh, you're fine, go play.
right,
No, you need to at least look at it. You need to look and see what's
right,
going on, and be there for those kids, because kids don't want to talk about that kind of stuff, and they don't know about this kind of stuff, and unless they have experienced something like that. So if a
right.
kid comes to you and says, something's wrong, I don't feel right, I always tell kids, I've trained law enforcement, but for a long time I talked to little kids, and I would always tell them, if something doesn't feel right in your stomach, listen to that.
Right.
Listen to that, because your gut will tell you.
Well, and also by law,
Yeah,
people are to report that. You know, there are
that's
so
right.
many organizations and
Hmm.
churches. You know, I remember in
Right.
Tulsa, I mean,
Mm,
from little children to older teenagers, that there's
right.
big trouble if you are in a place of influence or leadership, especially.
Right.
But if you hear
Yes.
about it, they tell you you are to report that.
That's
And
right.
and
That's
there's
right. I mean,
you
call
know
the police. I
mhm,
mean, you could even, call the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children and just say, hey, this is what's going on. What do I do? They're probably going to tell you you need to call your local police, but there will be a report of that as well. I think just blab. If a child comes to you and they're like, hey, Uncle so and so or Aunt so and so pulled me on their lap and they were touching me inappropriately, or touching me in a place where I always used to tell kids, if somebody touches you where your bathing suit goes, you need to tell somebody. So if your bathing suit covers it and somebody's touching you there, then you need to let a trusted adult know. And a lot of people say, well, who's a trusted adult? The one I always say is a mother with children. A mother with children.
mhm.
If you see, even in a park, if somebody comes up to you and hey, come and help me find a puppy, well, and your mom or your dad are nowhere to be seen, run to a mother with children. A mom is going to say, oh, okay. So that, and those are just little tips. That I think the word of the day is, you think about a little kid and they're scared, never be removed from one place to another. And that's one thing that just as a mom with Andy, is she was lied to. It was, come and go with me because your grandparents are sick. She allowed herself to be removed to a secondary location, and it cost her life. So that's always a big one. I mean, there's just so many things that as a mom and that I lost her have gone through my mind. What did I not teach her? What could I have done differently? What, you can what if yourself into tomorrow, but and it's been a hard road, but
Well,
I just try to do my best to
yeah.
help others how I can.
Well, most people assume that family's family. They wouldn't do this. They wouldn't do this,
That's
right?
right.
And you have good things to say, to those who may observe a child being abused, or is in danger, of that. But
Mhm.
what do you say to the children? You've already said, if they touch you where your bathing suit goes, you need to tell somebody. But in all your advocacy work, all of your legislative work, and now in the courtroom,
Mhm.
um, is there more that children can be done to be made aware of, even if it's a family member?
That's a tough question.
Yeah,
You know, because you don't want to pollute a child's mind. You want them to have a good upbringing, and you want them to not be afraid in
right,
life. But again, like I said, if it doesn't feel right in your stomach,
right.
something's wrong. That's the greatest one. If it doesn't feel right, go tell your mom, hey, I don't feel right. So I'm scared.
And you know
And
what? You nailed it. And I'm glad that that's what you say.
yeah.
Because children know if your pet. Well, let's put in the right order. If if your child or your spouse or your pet doesn't like somebody,
Hmm.
you need to pay attention, folks.
Yes.
But they're a bad feeling in their tummy.
Hmm.
Kids know, their little spirits tend to know, you know,
Yes.
and
Yes.
they need to be encouraged to follow
It can be a
that.
scary world. It really can. And being and working um, in the legislature with some of the laws we had were forced to write just to help keep kids safe. That to me was bad enough. And then going into the court system and working in that every day, now it's even worse. I'm like, wow, now I know why these prosecutors and these law enforcement officers were at the Capitol every day saying, hey, this is a real problem. Will you write a bill? Not saying that a criminal will, obey the law, but uh, think about just everything that they're coming to you and saying this is a bad problem, but then going into the court system and seeing, I mean, you wouldn't believe the people every day just in this part. I is part of the county that I work in. I'm mostly in Benton County, Arkansas, and just the people that come through who are in trouble for, being inappropriate with children, drugs, all kinds of crazy stuff that you just want to come home and lock your door at night. And I'm
Mhm.
not here to scare everybody, but again, it comes down to one word: be vigilant. Keep your head on a swivel. It's up to you to make sure that you and your family are safe.
Do you think that cyber stalking or some of these new platforms are more of a problem now more than ever, or are we just more aware of it now?
No, the cyber stalking, 100% is worse. I think it's because it's easy. You can get right online and be in and out, of anywhere. It's so um, easy to oh my goodness, go on Twitter or go somewhere and like stalk someone or hey, that person is somebody I'd like to be with, and just, yeah, it's bad. It can be bad. And it's harder to get caught that way. Um Online. It's tough.
I think we got to be more vigilant than ever to protect our families,
Yep.
and to protect our kids. You know, these aren't the days of our youth.
No.
They're much, much worse. But Rebecca, you have fascinating things to share as a mother, to share as a political leader, to share as a writer and a researcher and an activist. I can't wait to get you on
You
these
make me sound so
panels.
good.
You are using your life to benefit others.